Okay, so our summative assessment is going to ask us to write something called a DBQ, or a document-based question. Basically, it's a paragraph or an essay, in this case it's a paragraph, in which you're asked to write based on your own knowledge, what have you learned, what do you know, but also to back up your knowledge with evidence specific from the text or specific from the documents. So it's a type of writing that you've been doing. It's just social studies, so they gave it a new name. So let's look at our sheet right here. This was the packet that you did the inside of for homework last night. It says the paragraph question, so we'll circle paragraph question because that lets us know how much we have to write, is based on the following documents. This question is designed to test your ability to work with historical documents. As you analyze the documents, consider the author's point of view and anything that you know about the time period that could be useful to your paragraph. Truthfully, this section here is the same on almost every DBQ. The only thing that changes is usually this word paragraph. Sometimes it says essay. So it's very important to read it just so we're clear what we're actually writing. Then they always give us something called the historical background. This is what I call the save me. If your mind blanks when you go to write an essay or a paragraph, especially in a test situation, this gives you something to work with. So what they tell us in terms of the historical background is that beginning in 1607, people began to settle the 13 English colonies in the Americas along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Our key words here, we have English colonies, Atlantic Ocean, and beginning in 1607. Okay, now our task. This is actually the easiest way to do this is to basically say this is our job. This is what we're going to do and what we're going to be assessed on. Our job. Using the information from the documents and your knowledge of American history, answer the questions that follow each document in Part A. Okay, check. Done. You did that last night for homework. You annotated the documents. You answered every question using complete sentences. I have complete faith in you. Your answers to the questions will help you write the Part B paragraph. Again, we just double checked that we're only writing a paragraph, not a whole essay, in which you'll be asked to. So this is our big question, and we have to make sure we understand this. How did the environment, all right, so this is nature of New England, so they told us specifically which set of colonies we need to do, influence the economy of the people living there. Economy, remember, is money and trade. So, of the people living in that region. So our task is, how did the environment affect the economy? They told us specifically they want us to focus on New England. Now what I want you to do is first we have to think, what do we have to know? And you'll notice they gave us some space to brainstorm right here. You've got about half a piece of paper. What I'd actually like you to do is I'd actually like you right now to flip to the back of your packet. You should have a blank sheet of paper there. And hold on a sec, I'll be right there with you. Okay, so we're on the very back. And this is the best spot to brainstorm. We're not limited in space. We have tons of room. First, we want to figure out everything we know. What we do know is we need to figure out the geography of the region. Keeping in mind that geography also includes environment, or everything that is naturally there. What was there before humans? And we have to understand how that influenced the economy of New England, how they made money. So here's the first thing we have to do. We have to figure out what is the geography. That's our starting point of our question. And to do that, I'm going to challenge you to find, let's go with 3 to 4 key things. What are the 3 to 4 biggest items that you think played a role in how the economy developed? So go look for things in nature that played a huge role in New England. Where are you going to find this? If you go to your page 8, and your page 8, I'm looking for it. I don't seem to have it. Okay. Your page 8 has on the front of it questions about the founding of the Middle Colonies and the Middle Colonies being proprietary colonies. If you go inside your page 8, you have a chart on the geography of New England, Middle, and Southern colonies. Pause the video, go to that chart on page 8, and find the 4 most important environmental factors for New England. Go. Okay, apparently my pause didn't work the same as yours. So now that you've come back from your pause, you found your 4 things. If I were in class, I'd raise hands, I'd take guesses or take answers, but here's what I suspect you answered. I suspect that one of your big answers was rocky soil or infertile soil. The fact that they had really bad land. I suspect one of your big answers was the Atlantic Ocean. I suspect one of your big answers, so let's see, rocky soil, Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to go cold, long winters. And then I also suspect that you might tell me about large forests. Or plentiful lumber. And while there's lots of different possible answers, again, I'm taking a bet that these are the most common answers out there in the class. So now when we're brainstorming, we have to figure out if this is the environment, what did it cause them to do? How did it influence their making of money? So rocky soil, infertile soil. Because they had that, what did that do to their inability or their ability to make money or change the way they made money? Because they had the Atlantic Ocean, what does that do to them making money? Because they have long, cold winters, what does that do? And because they have large forests with lumber, what does that do? So I'll give you an example down here. Because they had large forests and they had lots of lumber, they focused on shipbuilding because it took 2,500 trees to build a ship. Now, your task, pause the video, go back to your page 10 this time, your page 10, and your page 10 has inside it a chart on the economy, how each of the colonies made money. See if you can match up how they made money with their environment. You could also look on the notes we took from yesterday. You might be able to find things. All right, we're going to pause the video. I'm back on. Isn't that special? My pause isn't always working. All right, and while we paused the video, or didn't, you guys were looking up answers. And let's look to see if we can come up with some common answers. And again, yours could be slightly different. That's fine. So rocky soil or infertile soil, what does that allow New England to do? Well, one of the things we learned was that vocabulary word. Oh, my pen's not working. Blue, maybe? There we go. Subsistence farming. Because they had rocky, infertile soil, they focused on trade instead of farming. because they had the Atlantic Ocean, they focused on the whaling industry. We could say they focused on the fishing industry. And we could actually add a third one, shipbuilding, because if you don't have access to water, where are you going to let your ships go? So shipbuilding could go with the Atlantic Ocean as well. All right, long, cold winters. We could say long, cold winters. Again, we could do focused on trade. Long, cold winters, we could do subsistence farming. Large forests of lumber. I said earlier shipbuilding, trees to build a ship. Large forests of lumber. I'm actually drawing a blank. Hopefully, maybe you found something. Okay, but one of the things that popped into my head, rocky soil, infertile soil, I might be able to put in here that because of subsistence farming, there were a lot of towns that grew up. And so because they weren't spending their time out on big farms because they were grouped closer together because of the bad soil, towns grew. So what we've got is we've got some basic brainstorming here. Okay, from here we want to add to our brainstorming. And we're going to add to our brainstorming actually by going back into the documents. So this right here has represented everything we've learned in class by looking at our notes. Now, if we go back into our documents, which you did last night for homework, and you'll see mine are done too. Oh, there's document 1. All right. We're looking for facts that can then support what we've already learned. So in document 1, jobs Joshua held, I looked at this and I counted that he had 14 jobs. This guy's really good at everything. He was a general handyman. The ones I wrote in the answer, I wrote way more than I needed to in the answer because the answer only asked me for 2. But I picked the ones I figured you guys would know what they were. A farmer, a house builder, a carpenter, a cabinet maker, a town official, and someone who builds coffins. Very well-rounded guy. Okay, so clearly he had to have lots of different types of jobs. And it said not only a farmer. I'm going to guess part of that is because Joshua Hempstead of Connecticut was not able to make a living totally based on farming. So if I go back down here, here's where I talk about rocky soil caused a problem with farming. So I could add in here a fact that as a result, some, like Joshua Hempstead, had many jobs to survive. So what I've got here is, oh, and I got that out of document 1. It's just a quick little fact so that when I go to do my planner, I can be like, oh yeah, document 1 really helped me. All right. Anything else from document 1? Nah, probably not so much. That's probably the big fact that I can pull there. Okay, document 2, I'm looking at this. My question was based on the document, what was a major industry in the New England colonies? A major industry was whaling and trade. I look at my pictures. I've got the little boat harvesting the whale. The big boat is off in the background, ready to take the resources. I've got a town. I've got ships. It really seems to support my whaling, and it makes me wonder, did I put anything about natural harbors? Rocky soil, infertile soil, long cold winters, large forests. I don't. So over here, the Atlantic Ocean, I could add that there were natural harbors, and I got that so I can remember from document 2 the Atlantic Ocean, the whaling, shipbuilding, I could add that a lot of this resulted in trade on, or trade in, I think in, not on, trade in local towns. And again, that was document 2. And then if I go up, oh, there's my document 3. Now, document 3 was tricky. They showed you all 13 colonies, and it says the title is Economic Products of the Colonies, all 13 colonies. But then look at the question. Oh, mine froze. We're still frozen. Okay, look at the question. What are the 2 main industries in the New England colonies? So I have to make sure that I'm only counting the New England colonies. Here's my New England colonies. What are main industries in New England? So the rest of this map, all of this, actually doesn't count for this question because we're only focusing on New England. So what I did is I went through and I counted up how many different industries this map shows, and I see that fish, lumber, shipbuilding, and rum are the most common. And so I chose for my answer 2 of the industries are fishing and rum, and I picked rum because it might be interesting to fill in the triangle trade. See if I need to connect that in there. All right, so let's look down here. You know, I'm really liking, again, the Atlantic Ocean, and that 2 big industries were whaling and shipbuilding. And because of the Atlantic Ocean, we have trade as well. I got that out of document 3. And trade with rum. And I happen to know, so my own information, I'm just going to abbreviate here, the triangle trade. So this is a little messy, but all I've really done is I've brainstormed from all my sources so that now I can go and I can write a plan. So here's what we're actually going to do next. We're going to stop watching the video. Activity 3 was watching the video. Activity 4 is going to jumpstart you and push you ahead to actually looking at a finished product paragraph. You don't have to write this paragraph. You're just going to grade the paragraph. So for activity 4, make sure you have a copy of the paragraph. Keep in mind what the work we did here. Work your way through the finished paragraph. And we'll end there for today.